Hello guys, and welcome to my latest Doctor Who DVD review, and today I'll be reviewing the Colin Baker story, Attack of the Cybermen. As you can see, here's the DVD, and I must apologise for the lack of videos in this sort of recent week. Work has been quite busy, and I've just been too tired to make any videos, so I'm going to use this weekend as an opportunity to make a couple of videos at least. So I'll start off by doing a review of this DVD, and so let's begin, shall we? And as you can see, it's quite a nice cover. It's quite blue, and you got a lot going on there, and it's rated as a U. Now, I'll get into various reasons as to why I think that rating is a load of bollocks, because this particular story, if you know your Doctor Who, you'll know that this story is quite violent in some areas. So yes, I think that rating's a load of bollocks. So we've got the spine, it's quite nice and blue, really cool. And then we've got some pictures from the story, and then we've got the blurb, and we've got special features, which there's quite a few. And so yeah, I'll start by reading the blurb, and it's written by Paula Moore. The TARDIS is lured to Earth in London 1985 by an alien distress signal. Investigating, the Doctor and Perry stumble upon an attempted bank robbery staged through the London sewers by a familiar foe, ex-Dalek agent Litten. But who is he working for this time? For they soon discover there is something far nastier lurking in the sewers: Cybermen. Why do the Silver Giants need a time machine? What is their devastating plan of attack? And what does it have to do with the catastrophic event that happened long ago in the Doctor's past? So yes, that's the blurb, and if you want to, you can just pause there and have a little look at the special features. They're quite good as well. And inside we have the booklet, and we've also got the disc, which is pretty much the front cover. So yes, what are my overall thoughts on Attack of the Cybermen? Now, it is quite a controversial story because of its violence. I mean, there's a scene where Lytton does get his hand crushed, and there's like blood pouring everywhere, and it did get a lot of complaints for that particular scene, because a lot of viewers were sort of they weren't particularly fond of that scene, and for good reason. It's quite violent for Doctor Who. And to be honest, the overall story itself, it's a bit average. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It's just okay, you know. It's not terrible, because Colin Baker, bless him, his Doctor is seen as a bit of a joker, and pretty much like the rest of his era, you know, he's extremely underrated, as the Doctor, Colin Baker, is, and that's mainly due to the writing of the scripts. It's nothing to do with Colin Baker. Colin Baker is probably one of the best actors to have played the Doctor. It's just the writing really let him down, and I think he was really wasted, I think, and I think that was mainly down to John Nathan Turner and the choices that he made in this particular time of Doctor Who, because you know, we had that brilliant story, The Caves of Androzani, regardless if you think it's overrated. Then of course we had The Twin Dilemma, which is regarded as the worst Doctor Who story of all time, and then we have Attack of the Cybermen, which I wouldn't say it was one of the worst stories ever. There are some parts of it which I quite like. When you see the Cybermen in the sewers, of course that's a reference to the invasion, and there's a lot of little references in this story. Of course you got Totter's Yard, which is where they first appear. And of course the Doctor's trying to fix his, I think it's the first story where his chameleon circuit works. And then I think you've also got like a little loose reference to the 10th planet somewhere in there as well. And as for the Cybermen themselves, well, they're okay. I mean, the acting for some of the Cybermen is quite bad. And as for the Cyber Controller, it's the same actor who played the Cyber Controller in the Patrick Troughton story, Tomb of the Cybermen, and John Nathan Turner got him back for that specific reason, just because of the fact that he was in Tomb of the Cybermen, and they also tried to make the whole sort of location where the Cybermen were, like the whole Telos thing, similar to what was seen in Tomb of the Cybermen, but because the budget was so small, smaller than it was back in the 60s, it just didn't look like anything like we'd seen before, and it was John Nathan Turner thought people probably weren't going to remember Tomb of the Cybermen, and it's quite sad to see that it didn't really live up to what Tomb of the Cybermen was, because we all know that's a fantastic story and it's loved by a lot of fans. And then you have this story, and it's probably one of the weakest Cybermen stories. It's better than Nightmare in Silver, because that's just complete crap, to be honest. And yeah, it's a good story, but there are parts of it which are pretty bad. I mean, the first part of the story is pretty good. I do quite like a lot of the stuff on Earth, and I do sometimes think it should have been an Earth-based story with a little bit of time travel in between. And when it gets to around part 2, because this is the first story where we are introduced to the 2-part format, and of course that's the normality now for the new series. We see it quite a lot now, but it didn't really work back in the 1980s. But you know, when it gets to part 2, it just starts to fall down, and Telos just looks like a generic quarry, to be honest. And of course we see the return of Lytton, which he's a pretty good character. The guy who plays him does a really good job, and of course we first saw him in Resurrection of the Daleks, which is a pretty good story, I'd say. And as for these little creatures here, they're quite annoying. I've forgotten the name of them already, and to be honest, I don't really care about them that much. They did come across as rather annoying, and yeah, they did great on me, but I just didn't like them. And yeah, it's like I said, it's pretty violent. There's nothing really special about the story apart from the little references here and there. It's just littered with continuity everywhere for some reason. I don't know. It's just not that good. I do like season 22. I think it's okay. It's not the best season ever, but there are a couple of good stories in there. And this is just one of those average stories. But the Cyber Controller, as you can see on the front cover, his helmet does look like a bit of a penis. But overall, the story is just average. I don't rate it that highly. It's not one of those stories that I can just go back and watch and I'll know that I'll enjoy it. It's just, yeah, it's like just one of those stories you can watch for like review purposes, discussion purposes or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. There's nothing really much to discuss because it's just an average story. I mean, if you're a fan of Colin Baker, then by all means go and watch the story. I mean, I do like Colin Baker because I like all the Doctors. I don't dislike any of them. I just have least favourites and favourites, like every other fan should have. Because I think Colin Baker does give a great performance, and I do really like the Sixth Doctor and Perry. I think they work really well together, and they are one of my favourite pairings. I do really like that combination, because I do like Perry as well. I think she's like a really cool companion. So for a rating, I'll probably give it 5 out of 10. It's just average. Like, there's nothing majorly bad with it, but there's nothing majorly good about it either. It's just average. So that's pretty much all I have to say. So I think my next review will be of a book. But my next video will be a book review, but I won't tell you what it is. My next DVD review will be of either Delta and the Bannerman or Paradise Towers. So yeah, look forward to that. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you for my next book review. So see you then, and take care.